Hello everybody, Reggie Time here, and in this video today we're going to be looking at um, Facebook group users Jorn's video of him playing some 25 NL on Unibet. Jorn's someone who I've known for a while now, done a few sessions with him over a long period of time. Haven't worked with him intensively, but I'm kind of know enough about him to say that he's not a hardcore grinder. He enjoys playing poker. He enjoys it as a hobby. He doesn't really. I know he's quite successful away from poker. He doesn't grind like a lot of you guys do. I don't think. At least I don't think he does anyway. Could be wrong. Sorry if I am, Jorn. So for me, Jorn's always going to be, well, not always, but quite often going to be a little bit rusty. So I'm looking forward to seeing this video, see how he approaches the games like this, because we've never done any sessions, I don't think, where we've done live sweats. It's mostly been hands that he's brought. So looking forward to see the nuts and bolts of Jorn's game. Expecting to see errors would be a wrong thing to say, but expecting to see a few things that maybe aren't quite as polished as maybe some other guys. But we'll see. Hopefully I'll be pleasantly surprised. But let's get stuck in and see what's happening. So it looks like we're going to have some action up on table 1 here. Looks like Jorn's going to make 12 blinds. That's the smallest I would go. I've been seeing a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but some players making it a little bit bigger when they're restealing 4x and a bit more. I mean, 3's fine, no issue with it whatsoever. I wouldn't have minded if it'd gone up to 325, 330, 350, but yeah, nothing wrong with this at all. Of course, I'm just nitpicking. I've just been making my 3-bets a little bit larger lately, mostly because most of the time we're wanting folds, and not very often we're wanting loads of action. You know, we want action with that, like aces, kings, queens maybe, and some other hands, but usually when we're 3-betting 3, a fold's the desired outcome. So I tend to put few more blinds on it these days, and if it costs me a little bit of action, sometimes with my premiums, it's a bit disappointing. But if it's definitely getting me more fold equity when I want it, then it's a result I'm typically happy with. So 3 would be my smallest amount here. I would never go less than 3. See some people that go 3x to 10x from the blinds. I don't like that at all. I think it's too small. We get peeled too often, and then quite often we're left out of position with a hand that hasn't improved in a bloated pot, which is quite a difficult scenario. So yeah, 3 would be the smallest I would go here personally. Oh, it's actually gone even smaller than that at 285. Oh, you got the fold anyway, so all's well. So we're opening 9-8 suited, which is of course completely fine, and we have 2 aces, which is I think we can be happy opening that. And we get the folds. Big concern this video might be on the nitty side with our opponents. I've played a few sessions on Unibet, not many, over the last couple of months, and every single 25 session I've played, it seems to be like super nitty, really. As we've gone with the 4x 3-bet here again versus a 60 open. This is where I think we are going to get peeled a lot. And with 4x tip, but it's still not a lot of blinds to put in. And then we're going to have a hand that's going to be pretty hard to play post flop. It's if we get called, Ace 10 offsuit isn't exactly the sort of hand you want to be taking to the streets out of position post flop. Get the call, flop the good shot, easy c-bet spot. Don't think we need to go too big here. 480 in the pot. I'd be looking at less than $2, less than €2, sorry. Now I think we should check. No reason to continue betting here. Very unlikely we're going to get called by worse hands unless we go really small. I don't really like check calling a ton either, because I don't think a king's betting. I think queen x is betting. Ace-X probably checking back. The draws, most of them have got there. Jack-9 hasn't got there, I guess, if he has like a Jack-9 suited in one of the flop suits. Not a lot to like about this spot, really, to be fair. I wouldn't really want to call too large bets. I think we'd be fucked. We can't really bet because we don't get called. It's just a grim spot, and this is kind of what can happen when we 3-bet these kind of relatively weak aces out of position, is we get in these spots a lot, and they're really hard to proceed on. Not a lot, but we get in these spots sometimes, and they're really quite hard to proceed on, because I don't like any of our options. I don't like betting. I don't like check calling that much. It's not impossible that you can have Queen X here, Ace Jack, Jack 10. Yeah, it's a pretty grim situation. We're interested to see how Jorn proceeds with it. As usual, I've not watched this video before. This is all completely new to me. I think we'll check, and we hope for a check here. I guess would be what I'd be wanting to see happening. Jorn does indeed check. An opponent bets around half pot, and it's starting to get sticky now. It looks like he's setting up for a river jam, or at least he's giving up the potential for a river jam. And do we want to be check calling all our chips off here with just Ace 10? He bets 9. I think we should just fold here personally. Looks like he's gone for the reload. What are we going to do, Jorn? Yeah, we do go with the fold. And all of a sudden, that's like a €16 pot. And did the pot need to get that big with Ace 10? I don't think we could have done much different on any street. I think we probably need to 3-bet pre. I think if we just make it that bit bigger, maybe we get a few more folds. I don't know. But yeah, not that into 3-betting Ace 10 off to the size we chose versus button opens. And I think that the pre-flop sizing where we don't get as many folds as we'd like leads to these sort of problems way too often for my liking. It's not just the money we lose here; it's the frustration too. It's the tilt. It's the annoyance that you've kind of played a relatively big pot and not got to showdown with top pair, and there's a lot into this. It's not just the hand. It's not just the money we've lost. It's the effect it has on your mental game. It's the frustration. It's everything. It's your confidence that gets hit. It's a real problem. There's not just the hand we need to think about. It's everything else. It's a whole package. Play for the folds more pre. Play for the folds more, and don't worry too much if your opponents are going to overfold when you have some premiums, because the extra money you make from all the folds you get pre-flop is probably going to compensate you for that. And if you do get people to stick it even versus big sizings, then just narrow your range a bit, build bigger pots with stronger ranges. What am I going to do here with the 8s? I think I like a call. Yep, he does. We do not flop a set. I think we can peel once here. We don't need to, because I'm not sure why we bet here. I mean, we've taken the pot down, but I guess we're protecting against just 2 overcards. But I'm not sure why we bet there. I think we can just check. I think a big problem a lot of players have is they're just like building pots with marginal hands too often. I think a lot of you guys probably won't agree with that and think that we should be betting more. But with these types of hands here, we bet, he calls. We don't know how to proceed on loads of turns. I guess a 5 and a 9's okay for us. I guess a spade, not terrible. I guess we can check back spades a lot and get to showdown. I just don't think we need to be betting here. I mean, if he's got a hand like Jack 10 and he improves on the turn and sucks out on us, we can, if we'd have bet the flop, he would have folded. But when he's got stuff like Kings, Queens, Jacks, 10s, he's not going to check fold. So we only really do get them to fold maybe 20% equity when we do bet. Don't get valued that often. For me, that's not a bet. Do we defend the ace-3 suited here, blind versus blind? I don't mind that. I think calling's okay. Possibly prefer 3-betting. Depending on how often this dude's opening, I guess. The more he's opening, the more I like a 3-bet. We don't know enough about him yet in this video to know for sure. Don't like this size in blind versus blind, Jorn. We're not going to get anywhere near the amount of folds we like. I see plenty of players doing it now, like opening small versus big. I think you're creating a lot of problems for yourself when you do this. You're going to get flattered with an enormous range. We have a somewhat playable hand, but again, just we need a bit more fold equity than we're going to get with this open size. Just 3x blind versus blind in my book. Who knows? He's probably going to make a dick of me now and fold, but yeah, he does. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the less than 3x open 100 blinds deep in cash games. Understand it in tournaments when we're playing much shallower stacks and there's more to win with the antes, but don't like it in 100 big blind cash games at all. I do like flopping sets though. What sizing we'll be looking at here? I mean, pretty dry board. Yeah, there's a flush draw and there's a few gut shots and what have you. Relatively dry board. I'd be looking to maybe just go anything 60 to 70 here. And if he does call, then start like upsizing turns that we enjoy. So we're looking at 60, 70 cents at the most. Probably 60, I think. We do go with 60 and he just like snap folds, which is incredibly annoying when you flop sets. Sorry, I keep clicking the pause button on the video when I want to cough rather than the pause button on the fucking replay, on the recording. Do apologise. Ace 10 suited here. I guess flatting's okay, but I'm not a huge fan of flatting in these spots in general. I used to be, and then I realised I was like just giving up loads of like money post flop with spots where my opponent's range wasn't defined, mine wasn't defined. It just gets a bit messy. I think I prefer to 3-bet this hand here. We can easily fold it to a 4-bet. Just knock the blinds out, try and get heads up in position with a very playable hand. We don't really want the blinds to come along here too. Maybe, if we 3-bet here and he calls, maybe in the spot where we got, I don't know, 60 to 40% equity. When the blinds come in, all of a sudden our equity is going to drop to like 30% or so, you would imagine. So I'd prefer just a 3-bet here. Try and get heads up. If we get 4-bet, who cares? Just fold our hand. And we flop to pair plus flush draw. I think I like the call there. We could have potentially raised given we have like second pair, not flush draw, but I think the call's fine. How quick did we call though? Did we call, was it a snap call? Or do we have any timing issues here maybe? Very quick call. Easy call on the turn 2. Not sure why we're raising here. Don't need to raise really. We're getting decent pods. We've got nut flush draw. We've got showdown value. I'd like you to explain, if you could, Jorn, at some point, either to me personally, privately, or whatever. I don't like this raise. There's just no reason for it. We open ourselves up to a 3-bet, which would be disgusting. We'd have to like almost certainly fold our hand, I would imagine. It's not really a situation where we want to be stacking off here. We have showdown value. If we didn't have the straight draw, if we just had, if we didn't have the flush draw, if we didn't have the pair, I could slightly get bored more with raising. But we have like showdown value here. Much rather, if we're going to raise here, I'd rather have a hand like 6-7 of hearts than ace-10 of hearts. We don't need the fold equity. We can just call here and sit and play a lot of rivers. Really don't understand this raise. I think it's quite bad, to be honest. If he calls, he probably has the best hand. If he jams or raises, probably has the best hand. And if he folds, then we probably had the best hand. I don't like it. And now it's just going to check on the river, I presume. Even though I think there's decent merit to actually turning our hand into a bluff here now, given that the backdoor flush has got there, a straight's got there. I think our opponent's very likely to have better than ace-10. I think our opponent can have stuff like pocket queens, pocket kings here quite a lot. Maybe he folds if we jam here. In fact, I think I prefer a jam to checking back, because I think it goes check and we just don't win very often. I think hands we beat queen 10 maybe takes this line, king 10 maybe takes this line. I mean, if we jam, he's probably not going to fold sets, but does he flat sets on the turn when we raise? Yeah, I think I prefer turning our hand into a bluff here, try and get folds from overpairs, which I think make up quite a big part of his range at this point. Wow, he wasn't folding that hand. Maybe the jam wouldn't have worked on that occasion. But yeah, really don't like the turn raise there, fella, I'm afraid. Surprised we didn't set man at the big blind there versus two opponents with the deuces. So that's twice now we flopped big on this bottom table. Flopped a set, flopped trip nines, no action either time. These games on Unibet really are. I used to be a big proponent of playing on Unibet. I don't think it's any good anymore. I really don't. I think the games there are pretty poor, tight, boring. I don't think the players are particularly good. If you're a really good loose aggressive player, you could probably make money just absolutely destroying nits, I would imagine. But nobody makes a lot of money from nits. People say, "Oh yeah, well, play with nits, just steal the blinds all the time." Nobody gets rich from stealing blinds. I think the games are really quite bad, and it just isn't my second sight anymore. I keep going there thinking maybe it's better, and it just never gets better. Yeah, maybe at the weekends the games are okay. Maybe late at night the games are okay, but yeah, for me, Unibet used to be quite soft. Now it's just really dull and boring. Like a lot of no limit hold'em on a lot of sites, I guess. It's quite a dull and boring game. If there's no fish, no fun. That's what I say. Let's see what Jorn does with this ace jack off here. I think it should either be a 3-bet or a fold pre-flop. Again, I'm not sure about any of these players, but we're going to assume relatively tight given how the games have looked so far in the 17 minutes of the video and what I also know about Unibet in general. I don't think we can flat here and show much profit at all. I would probably be using these hands to 3-bet bluff with. I'd be bumping it up to around 280, something like that, if it falls to me. If this guy calls, then I'd be bumping up to around 340 and just hoping to take it down pre. Let's see what he goes with. We're definitely going with the squeeze. What size are we going with? I like it. 375 by the look of things. 4 or 5, that's possibly too big. 16 blinds. Don't hate it though. We do want the folds, remember. We do want the folds. And happily we get them. No set this time. And check's fine. Fold's fine. Move on. So now we are set mine. We didn't set mine in the blinds in this table. I don't think when we're in the big blind, closing the action with the deuces. Now we're flatting from the small blind when we're not closing the action. Bit of inconsistency there. Maybe something, I don't know, with the twos over here. Maybe we timed out. I didn't notice. Yeah, but I'm not sure why we're flatting twos from the small blind and not flatting them from the big blind when we're closing the action. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Did not flop a set. Very disappointing flop. So we're going to start trying to turn our hand into a bluff here. And we're not. We actually checked. I thought he was going for the bet. Now we're turning our hand into... No, we're not. Still not turning our hand into a bluff, and we got to showdown. So Jorn like trolled me a couple of times there with the going for the bet, then checking. I think I'm fine with just checking down there. The pot's too small to bluff the river. He's probably just going to call with almost any pair given the action. As we've been at 3-bet here. So let's think about 4-bet sizing here. Our opponent's 3-bet to 10 big blinds. Starting the blind just less than 100 blinds deep, which doesn't necessarily mean anything on Unibet because you have to auto top up. This guy could still be some kind of regular that just hasn't hit the auto top up yet. Hasn't hit the manual top up yet. He has position on us. I think I like a smallish 4-bet here. It's like 22 big blinds. So what would that be? 550. Anything 525 to like 570, yeah, I'm okay with. That's what I'd be going with. Then we just small bet flop jam turns. Pretty simple hand to play. Once we 4-bet the aces and we get like a really low SPR, there's not going to be that much getting away post flop unless we bet flop. He calls on a coordinated board and the turn, everything gets there. Usually it's just going to be bet raise to like 550. He calls. There's 11 in the pot. There's going to be average. His stack's going to be down to like $19, $18. Then just fire like, I don't know, 5, 6 on the flop and jam turn. It's really quite simple. I think we're going too big here with the 630. Don't think we need to go that big. You get the fold anyway. Don't suppose it makes much difference. Interesting situation. We flop the open ender against somebody who's got no money, and hopefully he just checks in. We just get to check back. We don't really want to bet here. He raises, we have to call it off. We're just going to be behind a lot. He's got no money hardly. I think there's two options to take here. I would either go with the check back flop if he checks to us, or just jam flop and not give a fuck. What do I prefer? Yeah, I think I prefer just jamming the flop. If he checks, just jam flop. Capitalise on any fold equity. I don't like these like shitty small sizings here. I mean, given his stack depth, he's either going to be in a spot where he feels committed to the pot or not. Just make life easy for yourself there. Either check back or just ship it in and not really give a fuck about what happens because he's got a micro stack. And no offence to Jorn whatsoever, because I'm really grateful he submitted the video, but fuck me. This is demonstrating to you guys who don't play on Unibet just how stale these games feel. I think back to the video Ryan sent, there was some fish on his tables and just a lot more to talk about. And really, right, I promise you, Jorn, this is not an insult to you in any way, buddy, because it's just the nature of the games here. But fuck me, these games are bad. Triple Eight games are way better than Unibet. If you're not in the UK, you can't play on Sky, but you have the option between, say, Party Poker, Poker Stars, Unibet, Triple Eight. I think Triple Eight is absolutely the place to be. Right, so what's happening here with these two tens all of a sudden? Too busy ranting about game quality to look at what's happened. So we've opened pre with C-Bet. It's obviously completely standard. We've been check raised, which could mean a lot of things. Wheel's not out of the question. He's in the big blind, so obviously ace 5 is in his range. What's the other straight? 6-5. No, yeah, 6-5. So he has straights in his range. Bit of a shame that I know we're going to turn a 10. But I wouldn't have hated a fold right here, right now on this board. There's no real draws out there, so to speak. I think when we get these hands here, fair enough, we're going to turn a 10, and that's going to encourage us to continue. But generally speaking, I think it's like a fold here with my overpair. Do I think players in these games, bearing in mind if we think they're all kind of like pretty tight regulars, do I think players are like check raising pocket 7s, pocket 8s here, pocket 9s? Not that often. I think they just check calling with them all. There's not many draws out there. And there's lots of ways our opponent can have us crushed. He can have all the sets. He can have the two main straights very, very easily. So there's lots and lots of value here. Not many bluffs and not many worse hands raising for value. I prefer just folding here with the 10s right now. I know we don't because we skipped forward a bit by mistake. But yeah, I would just fold here. Pocket 10s versus this check raise against someone who I assume is going to be a relatively tight regular. Do call, we turn the set. Now our opponent bets, and bearing in mind that I don't think he has too many bluffs here. I think like we obviously now we're ahead of all his sets. We're still behind to his straights. What do we do here? I'm not scared of any rivers. If like an ace comes, I'm not thinking it's going to complete a lot of his hands. I think I'd just call here and just hope for a nice clean river. I don't think I'd raise. Don't think there's much reason to raise. The only problem is if it does come like a deuce, sorry, an ace or a 6 on the river, and he does have one of the sets, maybe it slows him down a little bit. But that's only 8 cards that can come and spoil our action. I think I just call here and either call rivers or jam. See, that is a shit river because now he does slow down with sets a lot, I guess. Even though we shouldn't have too much 5x in our range. It'd be interesting. See, now he's slamming it in. I think he's more likely to have straights here than he is sets and things. So now all of a sudden we're in a pretty dicey situation. I'm going to be interested to see what he has. I mean, we can't fold here. We have to call. But the fact he's like check raised and then just jammed on the ace still makes me very worried that he just flopped straight. So I guess we'll see. Just pocket 6s. Wow. Wow. Didn't really expect that. I think this is like been very spewy from our opponent here. Although it would have worked against me because flop raise would have worked against me. Yeah, the river jam probably wouldn't have worked, but I wouldn't have been comfortable. But yeah, his flop check raise definitely worked against me, and it makes a mockery of my saying that people aren't really check raising small overpairs here. I still believe that. Obviously, there's always exceptions to the rules, but typically speaking, this isn't a hand I would expect to see that often from tight regulars. Maybe he's not a tight regular, and I was making my assumption based on like weak type regulars. If he's not a weak type regular, then obviously then things change. Yeah, but that was pretty spewy, I think. Oh, we're not going to fold the gut shot, are we, Jorn? I don't think we can defend. Let's go back here. I don't think we can defend like king queen to a cut off open, then just check fold for 3 blinds. So when we flop a gut shot, I think we need to be seeing turns here. We can't really check raise. He has a pretty big range advantage on us. He has all the strong hands. We kind of have 3-5s, and that's about it. Maybe sometimes we have ace jack. But yeah, I think it's. I mean, I'm a pretty nitty player, but I think it's too tight to just check fold here when we flop a gut shot to the nuts for 3 blinds. Jorn folded pretty quickly. You just seem to doing everything pretty quickly, Jorn. I'm not sure how much thought you're giving to your decisions outside of like whatever your instincts are. You seem to like just playing an instinct a lot rather than sometimes just slowing down and assessing a situation with a bit more care. Yeah, I think from what we see in this video, Jorn Korea now getting close to the end of the video you sent, just a couple of minutes left. You seem to be. Well, look at this ace jack first, then I'll give my closing thoughts. Not sure we need to bet there with the ace jack again. I mean, we turn the nuts, so it's great, but it's a reasonable hand to like just check. Oh, we've got second pair, so we don't need to bluff. It's going to be pretty hard to get value on this board. I mean, as it happens, we turn the nuts, so we can just keep betting. But I mean, we need the guy to have the queen or the 10 of hearts to continue, which I guess he has a decent amount when he calls on this board. So now I think we should maybe start thinking about upsizing. If he has the queen of hearts, we're probably going to get 2 streets. If he has the 10 of hearts, we're maybe going to get 1 still. Just hope he doesn't have the queen and the 10 of hearts and really fuck us over. But I don't think I would have bet that flop. I think I would just be very comfortable check calling. Now we check the nuts on the turn. We can't win a big pot if we don't build a big pot, sir. We need to just continue betting here. If he doesn't have a heart, he's probably not going to bet. If he does have a heart, he's probably going to call at least 1 more street. I don't see any reason for checking here, really, bud. We got the call from the king 9, which is interesting. Yeah, so these are my thoughts. We're going to play the video in a moment. I think Jorn, you've been a bit. I mean, I like keeping things simple, you know that, and oh fuck, my phone's ringing. I'll get it in a minute. Yeah, I like keeping things simple, but I think you've been somewhat a little bit too ABC in this video, if you don't mind me saying. But the games kind of lend themselves to that because they're so fucking nitty, stale, tight. If I was going to play these games regularly, which I don't see myself doing, I think we have to have fucking answer phone. Fuck off. Too noisy, dick. Probably not, love. Probably won't be phoning you back just yet. Yeah. So I think if I was going to play these games regularly, I think you have to be like pretty loose and aggressive pre-flop. You need to be like getting in there and trying to like assert some authority over these tables because they are pretty weak, pretty nitty. We've seen a lot of folding, or decent about folding to 3 bets. We 4-bet once and we got the fold, and then I think like post flop the players are mostly not that good. It's kind of like they've learned to play pre-flop with range charts and things, and then post flop they're maybe not quite as good as you might think they are, based on what you think of their pre-flop abilities. I think you've got to be like pretty aggro in these games and just trying to push people around, trying to like capitalise a lot on fold equity rather than trying to get value. I think it's going to be hard to get value in these games because people just fold too much. So I think if I was playing on this site regularly, I'd build my game around fold equity, not necessarily like I do on Sky, building it around like playing relatively tight, solid, and just value betting. I think it's kind of the opposite to Sky, where we're not looking to make big hands and get lots of value. Well, we are. We're always looking for that, but it's not going to be our primary game plan here. It's going to be much more game plan of looking to try and generate fold equity in spots where we can, because the games just seem really quite shit, nitty and boring. Ultimately, I wouldn't be in the games. I'd just be somewhere else. If Unibet was my only option, this is what I'd be doing. But if Unibet wasn't my only option, I just wouldn't be there. I think it's gone downhill in terms of game quality rapidly in the last like maybe 12 months. It used to be a good option. Not anymore. You get the odd fish kicking around here and there, but it's mostly just pretty shitty. Well, not shitty. Pretty tight regulars creating some pretty shitty games. Yeah, so if I was you, Jorn, I'd be moving sites. If you can't move sites, then I would be looking to ramp up that aggression both pre-flop and post-flop and just look to try and run tables over more, which isn't necessarily my style. It's not something I personally enjoy doing, but I do think it's the style that's going to work best in these games. And I say that to, not just to Jorn, but anyone playing on Unibet right now. I don't think like playing relatively weak, tight ABC is the strategy for these games. I think it is on Sky. Weak tight ABC crushes Sky if you're game selecting well. Weak tight ABC does not crush games where everyone else is doing the same thing. It's like the old story. You've got to be different to the rest of the table. I do play relatively weak tight on Sky. There's no secret to that, and it works incredibly well because I can play weak and tight, and then when I find a hand, I can be aggressive, and the fish won't notice that I've been playing weak tight, or they won't care, and they'll still pay me off. So if I can play relatively weak tight, keep pots small when I don't want to, and then blow up pots when I want to and get action, then there's no reason not to do that. But on a site like Sky, but when you're on another site where you're playing against a lot of like relatively weak type players who aren't just paying off willy nilly, then I think we need to like have a slightly different strategy and look to punish weak type players. We punish loose passive players by taking all our free cards and making large bets when we make good hands. That's how we do it on Sky, and we punish the loose passive players by just waiting to make strong hands and then making large bets. We play against a bunch of weak type players, we have to punish them by playing a much more loose aggressive style. You've got to kind of play a little bit opposite to how most of your opponents are playing. So yeah, if you are going to continue playing on Unibet, then you need to try and find a lot more pre-flop and post-flop aggression. Yeah, I think the video, no offence to you, Jorn, whatsoever, has been kind of dull because of the nature of the games, but it's given me a good chance to like show these games to other people who do maybe think Unibet might be an option for them, and to also talk about something I don't often get a chance to talk about on video. So yeah, thanks for that, Jorn. Really do appreciate it. The rest of you guys, if you'd like your video reviewing, my contact details are beneath the video. Please get in touch. Please send me some. I think I've received 4 videos up to now. This is the second one that I've done, so I'll be doing another one later in the week. So I've probably got a little bit of work to be getting on with, but please don't stop sending the videos in. Please do send them. If you do send me one, I promise it will get reviewed. It might take a week or so before I review it, but I promise you it will get reviewed. It will go on the channel. So if you've been thinking about it but not done it yet, please do send me the video. Take care for now, everybody. Have a lovely week, have a lovely day, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye for now.